The dumbest weapon humanity has ever built. Omega Pulse Emitter exposed. Humanity has always created weapons to keep us safe. From simple tools to today's high-tech devices, each new weapon was meant to protect us. But not every invention works the way it's supposed to. Now, there's a new weapon called the Omega Pulse Emitter. It was designed to stop enemies instantly with incredible accuracy and speed. People thought it was the future of defense, a way to keep peace by being the most powerful weapon ever made. But things aren't going as planned. The Omega Pulse Emitter has serious problems. Its energy core is unstable, causing unexpected and uncontrollable bursts that can lead to massive destruction. Instead of keeping us safe, it could bring chaos and suffering on a huge scale. The people behind the Omega Pulse Emitter believe they were making the world safer. Instead, their ambition has created a weapon that might easily get out of control. Just one mistake could destroy entire communities, tear down important infrastructure, and take countless innocent lives. There are also big ethical questions. Using the Omega Pulse Emitter means risking not just its failure, but also causing unintended and terrible consequences. Where do we draw the line between protecting humanity and putting it in danger? In this video, we'll expose the dangers of the Omega Pulse Emitter. We'll look at the major technical issues that make this weapon not only ineffective, but also extremely dangerous. We'll talk about the moral dilemmas it brings and imagine the severe effects its use could have around the world. As we push forward with new technologies, we need to think carefully about the risks. The creation of the Omega Pulse Emitter shows us that chasing advanced weaponry can sometimes lead to unexpected and disastrous results. This weapon is a clear example of what can happen when we prioritize power over safety. Stay with us to find out why the Omega Pulse Emitter might be the most dangerous weapon humanity has ever created and what it means for our future. Let's talk about the Omega Pulse Emitter, the weapon that everyone thought would change everything. This device was supposed to be the ultimate tool for keeping us safe. With its high-tech design, the Omega Pulse Emitter was meant to stop threats instantly, hitting targets with perfect accuracy and incredible speed. The idea was straightforward but ambitious. The Omega Pulse Emitter was designed to send out powerful energy bursts that could disable enemy electronics and confuse combatants in a split second. The goal was clear: end conflicts quickly and reduce the number of lives lost in battle. Over 10 years, the best scientists and military minds from around the world worked together to create this weapon. Led by Dr. Cassandra Vega, a top physicist, and General Marcus Steele, a seasoned military leader, the project was kept under tight wraps. They aimed to build something that would give any nation a significant edge in warfare, ensuring safety through superior firepower. The weapon itself is impressive. It's compact and sleek, making it easy to use in different combat situations. At its core is an energy unit capable of generating immense power, focusing it into precise bursts that can hit specific targets with remarkable accuracy. When turned on, the Omega Pulse Emitter releases a concentrated energy burst that can disable electronic devices, disrupt communications, and take down enemy forces without causing widespread destruction. This precision was supposed to minimize unintended damage, making it ideal for operations in crowded areas. But things didn't go as planned. The rush to develop a flawless weapon led to overlooked issues. The Omega Pulse Emitter started showing serious problems early on. Tests revealed that the energy core wasn't stable, causing the pulses to be inconsistent and sometimes uncontrollable. These malfunctions raised big questions about whether the weapon could work properly in real battle situations. The excitement around the Omega Pulse Emitter quickly turned into worry as reports of failed missions and unexpected consequences began to emerge. What was meant to be a breakthrough in defense technology became a source of fear. Instead of providing security, the weapon started to show how easily things could go wrong when pushing technology too far without fully understanding the risks. People started to realize that the Omega Pulse Emitter wasn't just another weapon. It was a symbol of how our desire for advanced technology can sometimes lead to dangerous outcomes. The technical issues weren't the only problem. There were also serious ethical concerns about using a weapon that could cause so much unintended harm. Understanding the Omega Pulse Emitter means looking beyond its impressive design and seeing the real dangers it poses. This weapon was supposed to be the future of defense, but its flaws turned it into one of the most problematic inventions in modern warfare. The story of the Omega Pulse Emitter is a reminder of the thin line between innovation and disaster, and how easily our creations can turn against us. While the Omega Pulse Emitter was designed to be our ultimate shield, it's riddled with serious problems that could turn our lives upside down. Let's break down the main issues that make this weapon not just flawed, but incredibly dangerous. First off, the technical side of things is a mess. The energy core, which is supposed to power the pulses, is highly unstable. This means that instead of firing precise energy bursts, the weapon often releases erratic and uncontrollable energy. Imagine a gun that's supposed to hit a target perfectly, but instead goes off randomly, causing unexpected damage every time it's used. That's exactly what's happening with the Omega Pulse Emitter. These malfunctions aren't just minor glitches. They can lead to massive destruction in ways no one planned for. Take a look at a real-life scenario. During a training exercise, the Omega Pulse Emitter malfunctioned, sending out a burst of energy that not only disabled enemy equipment, but also fried nearby electronic devices, including critical infrastructure like hospitals and communication centers. The fallout from such an incident would be catastrophic, leaving communities without essential services and plunging cities into chaos. But it's not just about technical failures. There are huge ethical concerns surrounding the use of the Omega Pulse Emitter. Using a weapon that can cause such widespread and unpredictable damage raises serious moral questions. Who decides when and where it's used? How do we ensure it doesn't harm innocent people? The line between protecting humanity and putting it in grave danger has become dangerously thin. Moreover, the Omega Pulse Emitter has unintended biological effects. The energy pulses it emits aren't just stopping enemies, they're also affecting living beings in unforeseen ways. Early reports have shown that exposure to these pulses can cause severe health issues, including mutations and long-term genetic damage. Imagine a weapon that not only fails to eliminate threats, but also leaves lasting scars on our population. This isn't just a weapon, it's a ticking time bomb for our own people. Experts have weighed in on these issues, sounding alarms about the Omega Pulse Emitter. Dr. Elena Ramirez, a leading physicist, stated, "The instability of the energy core makes this weapon highly unpredictable. We can't guarantee where or when a malfunction might occur, putting countless lives at risk." Similarly, General Marcus Steele, one of the weapon's creators, admitted, "We underestimated the complexity of controlling such powerful energy. The potential for disaster is far greater than we ever anticipated." These expert opinions highlight just how dangerous the Omega Pulse Emitter really is. What was meant to be a breakthrough in defense technology has become a source of fear and uncertainty. The weapon's flaws are not just theoretical. They're real and present dangers that could have devastating consequences for all of us. In summary, the Omega Pulse Emitter is plagued by critical technical failures, ethical dilemmas, and unintended biological impacts. These flaws turn what was supposed to be our greatest defense into a weapon that threatens our very existence. As we continue to develop and deploy such technologies, we must ask ourselves, are we truly making progress, or are we paving the way for our own destruction? Understanding these flaws is essential. The Omega Pulse Emitter serves as a stark reminder that our pursuit of advanced weaponry can sometimes lead to unforeseen and disastrous outcomes. It's a cautionary tale about the importance of thorough testing, ethical considerations, and the potential consequences of pushing technology beyond our control. Stay with us as we move forward to explore the broader implications of deploying such a flawed weapon and what it means for the future of humanity. Deploying the Omega Pulse Emitter doesn't just affect the immediate area, it has far-reaching consequences that could shake the very foundations of our world. The impact of this flawed weapon extends beyond the battlefield, touching every aspect of our lives and our planet. When the Omega Pulse Emitter is used, the instability we talked about earlier doesn't stay contained. Instead, it spreads, causing disruptions on a global scale. Imagine entire cities losing power in an instant. Hospitals go dark, emergency services fail, and communication networks collapse. In a world that relies so heavily on technology, this kind of disruption can lead to chaos and panic. Economies could crumble as businesses shut down and markets become unpredictable. Supply chains break apart, making it difficult to get essential goods and services. People would struggle to access food, clean water, and medical care, leading to widespread suffering and instability. Environmental damage is another major concern. The energy pulses from the Omega Pulse Emitter could wreak havoc on our ecosystems. Wildlife habitats could be destroyed, leading to the extinction of species and the imbalance of natural systems. Pollution from uncontrolled energy bursts would contaminate air, water, and soil, making large areas uninhabitable and harming human health. Global security would be thrown into disarray. Nations would become suspicious of each other, fearing that their rivals are developing even more dangerous weapons. This mistrust could lead to an arms race, with countries rushing to create new technologies to counteract the Omega Pulse Emitter, further escalating tensions and increasing the risk of conflict. Societal structures would also face immense pressure. Communities might break apart as people struggle to survive in a world where basic services are unreliable. Trust in governments and institutions would erode as citizens demand answers and accountability for the deployment of such a dangerous weapon. Protests and civil unrest could become commonplace as people fight to protect their lives and their way of living. On a personal level, families would face unimaginable hardships. Imagine losing loved ones to unexpected power failures or being forced to live without the conveniences and safety nets we take for granted. The psychological toll of living in a world where a single weapon can cause such widespread devastation would be immense, leading to increased anxiety, depression, and a general sense of insecurity. The Omega Pulse Emitter could also trigger unforeseen consequences in international relations. Alliances might shift as countries seek new partners to protect themselves or gain an advantage. Diplomatic negotiations would become more complicated, and the potential for misunderstandings and accidental conflicts would rise sharply. In extreme cases, the misuse of the Omega Pulse Emitter could lead to large-scale disasters. A single malfunction or deliberate attack could result in massive loss of life, environmental ruin, and the collapse of entire nations. The world could find itself grappling with the aftermath of such events for generations to come, struggling to rebuild and recover from the extensive damage caused. The ripple effects of the Omega Pulse Emitter's deployment are a stark reminder of how interconnected our world is. A problem in one area can quickly spread, affecting millions of lives and altering the course of history. The weapon's flaws don't just lie in its design. They lie in the potential for widespread and irreversible harm that can follow its use. As we consider the future, the Omega Pulse Emitter serves as a powerful example of how our pursuit of advanced technology can sometimes lead to devastating outcomes. It highlights the urgent need for careful consideration, strict regulations, and ethical guidelines in the development and deployment of new weapons. Without these safeguards, we risk unleashing forces that we cannot control, threatening the very survival of humanity and the planet we call home. The Omega Pulse Emitter was supposed to be a breakthrough in defense technology, but when we compare it to other weapons, its flaws become glaringly obvious. Let's look at why the Omega Pulse Emitter stands out as perhaps the most misguided weapon humanity has ever created. First, consider traditional weapons like rifles or even advanced systems like railguns. These weapons have a proven track record. They are reliable, precise, and their effects are well understood. When you fire a rifle, you know where the bullet will go and what it will hit. Railguns, although more advanced, offer similar predictability with higher power. Soldiers and commanders trust these weapons because they perform consistently. Now, take the Omega Pulse Emitter. Unlike these reliable weapons, the Omega Pulse Emitter is unpredictable. Its energy pulses are unstable, leading to random and uncontrollable bursts. This unpredictability makes it unreliable on the battlefield. Imagine relying on a weapon that might malfunction at any moment, causing unintended damage and putting your own side at risk. That's not a deterrent, that's a liability. Next, let's talk about cost and maintenance. Traditional weapons, while not cheap, have established systems for production, maintenance, and training. Railguns, for example, require significant investment, but their operation and upkeep are manageable because their technology is understood and controlled. The Omega Pulse Emitter, on the other hand, is expensive to produce and even more costly to maintain. Its complex energy core requires constant monitoring and repairs, diverting valuable resources away from other critical areas. When we look at effectiveness, traditional weapons excel because their impact is direct and measurable. A rifle shot can take down a target with precision, and railguns can disable vehicles or structures effectively. The Omega Pulse Emitter promised similar results but falls short. Its energy pulses might disable electronics temporarily, but the collateral damage and the risk of malfunction overshadow any potential benefits. Instead of providing a clear advantage, it creates more problems than it solves. Historical examples show us the dangers of overcomplicating weaponry. Think about the early attempts at developing plasma rifles or laser weapons. While innovative, these technologies faced significant challenges and often proved unreliable in real-world conditions. The Omega Pulse Emitter follows the same pattern of promising too much without delivering, leading to frustration and fear among those who are supposed to use it. Another point of comparison is the ethical implications. Traditional weapons, while deadly, have clear rules of engagement and are used within established frameworks. The Omega Pulse Emitter, with its unpredictable nature, blurs these lines. It raises serious moral questions about its use in populated areas where innocent lives could be lost due to a malfunction. The lack of control and the potential for widespread harm make it ethically problematic compared to more conventional weapons. Lastly, consider the strategic value. Reliable weapons like rifles and railguns provide strategic advantages by allowing for precise targeting and effective defense. The Omega Pulse Emitter lacks this strategic value because its unpredictability undermines its effectiveness. Instead of enhancing military capabilities, it introduces uncertainty and risk, making it a poor choice for any defense strategy. In summary, when we compare the Omega Pulse Emitter to other weapons, its flaws are undeniable. Its unpredictability, high cost, maintenance challenges, questionable effectiveness, ethical issues, and lack of strategic value make it stand out as one of the most flawed weapons ever developed. While traditional weapons continue to evolve and improve, the Omega Pulse Emitter serves as a cautionary example of what can go wrong when ambition overshadows practicality and safety. The Omega Pulse Emitter was meant to be our shield, but instead, it threatens to become our biggest vulnerability. This comparative analysis shows why it's considered the stupidest weapon humanity has ever tried to create. As we move forward, it's crucial to learn from these mistakes and prioritize reliability, safety, and ethical considerations in our pursuit of advanced technology. Deploying the Omega Pulse Emitter isn't just a matter of modern warfare. It's a ticking time bomb that could unleash disasters beyond our control. Let's look at some of the worst-case scenarios that highlight just how dangerous this weapon truly is. First, consider a major malfunction during a critical mission. The Omega Pulse Emitter is supposed to neutralize threats with precision, but its unstable energy core means that a single pulse could go haywire. Imagine a situation where the weapon misfires, releasing an uncontrolled energy burst that devastates not only the enemy, but also the surrounding area. Buildings could collapse, power grids could fail, and innocent lives could be lost in an instant. This isn't just a small error. It's a catastrophic failure that could turn a tactical advantage into a humanitarian crisis. Now, think about the long-term environmental impact. The energy pulses from the Omega Pulse Emitter aren't clean. They leave behind a trail of pollution that can damage ecosystems irreparably. Forests could be scorched, water sources contaminated, and wildlife habitats destroyed. The fallout from these energy bursts would make large areas uninhabitable, forcing people to flee their homes and disrupting the balance of nature. This kind of environmental devastation would have lasting effects for generations to come, making recovery nearly impossible. Another terrifying scenario involves the weapon falling into the wrong hands. If a rogue nation or a terrorist group, were to acquire the Omega Pulse Emitter, the consequences would be dire. They could use it to target civilian infrastructure, causing widespread panic and chaos. Imagine a city where hospitals, schools, and communication centers are suddenly disabled by an uncontrolled pulse. The loss of essential services would lead to mass hysteria, social breakdown, and an overwhelming humanitarian crisis that governments would struggle to manage. The psychological toll on society cannot be ignored either. Knowing that such a weapon exists and can malfunction at any moment would create a constant state of fear and anxiety. People would live in terror of the next pulse going off unexpectedly, disrupting their lives and putting their loved ones at risk. This pervasive fear would erode trust in authorities and destabilize communities, leading to increased mental health issues and societal unrest. Furthermore, the Omega Pulse Emitter could trigger an arms race like we've never seen before. As nations realize the potential of this weapon, they might rush to develop even more advanced and dangerous technologies to counteract it. This race for superior firepower would escalate tensions globally, increasing the likelihood of conflicts and making the world a more volatile and unpredictable place. The competition to outdo each other in weapon development would divert resources away from critical areas like education, healthcare, and infrastructure, hindering overall societal progress. In extreme cases, the misuse or accidental triggering of the Omega Pulse Emitter could lead to a global catastrophe. A single, uncontrolled pulse could set off a chain reaction of disasters, from widespread infrastructure failure to massive loss of life. The interconnectedness of our modern world means that one malfunction can have ripple effects across the globe, affecting economies, governments, and everyday lives in ways we can't fully comprehend or control. Personal stories bring these scenarios into sharp focus. Imagine a family living in a densely populated area suddenly experiencing a catastrophic energy burst. Their home is destroyed, their loved ones injured or lost, and they are left to navigate the ruins of their once thriving community. The trauma and loss would leave deep scars, not just on the survivors but on society as a whole. These human tragedies underscore the real and present dangers posed by the Omega Pulse Emitter. Experts warn that without strict controls and comprehensive safety measures, the Omega Pulse Emitter could lead to outcomes that humanity is ill-prepared to handle. The combination of technical instability, environmental damage, potential for misuse, and psychological impacts makes this weapon a profound threat to our future. It's not just a tool of war, it's a harbinger of potential disaster that could redefine the course of human history. In summary, the Omega Pulse Emitter carries with it the risk of massive, uncontrollable destruction. From immediate operational failures and long-term environmental damage to societal fear and global instability, the scenarios it presents are nothing short of catastrophic. These potential outcomes serve as a stark warning of the dangers inherent in developing and deploying such flawed and powerful technologies. Understanding these risks is crucial. The Omega Pulse Emitter exemplifies how our pursuit of advanced weaponry can lead to unforeseen and devastating consequences. It's a reminder that with great power comes great responsibility, and without careful consideration and control, we may be setting ourselves up for a future filled with chaos and destruction. Facing the dangers of the Omega Pulse Emitter, it's clear that action must be taken to prevent further disasters. Here are some steps we can take to address and mitigate the risks associated with this flawed weapon. First, we need to implement strict technological safeguards. The instability of the Omega Pulse Emitter's energy core is one of its biggest flaws. By developing advanced safety systems, we can ensure that the weapon shuts down automatically if any irregularities are detected. These fail-safes would help prevent accidental malfunctions that could lead to widespread destruction. Investing in robust engineering solutions is essential to making sure the weapon operates within safe parameters. International regulation is another critical measure. Countries around the world must come together to establish clear rules and guidelines for the development and deployment of such powerful technologies. Creating international treaties that limit the use and proliferation of the Omega Pulse Emitter can help reduce the chances of it falling into the wrong hands. Collaboration and transparency between nations are key to maintaining global security and preventing misuse. Investing in alternative defensive technologies offers a safer path forward. Instead of relying on weapons with high risks of malfunction, we can focus on developing systems that provide effective protection without the same level of danger. Technologies like advanced drone surveillance, cyber defense mechanisms, and non-lethal crowd control tools can offer robust security solutions while minimizing the risk of catastrophic failures. Public awareness and advocacy play a crucial role in preventing the deployment of the Omega Pulse Emitter. Educating people about the potential dangers and ethical issues surrounding this weapon can lead to increased pressure on governments and military organizations to halt its development. Grassroots movements and public campaigns can drive policy changes and ensure that the voices of concerned citizens are heard and acted upon. Another important step is thorough testing and evaluation. Before any weapon is deployed, it must undergo rigorous testing to identify and fix any technical issues. Independent reviews by third-party organizations can provide unbiased assessments of the weapon's safety and effectiveness. Ensuring that the Omega Pulse Emitter is thoroughly vetted can help prevent the release of a weapon that is not ready for real-world use. Ethical guidelines must be established and followed strictly. The development and use of the Omega Pulse Emitter raise significant moral questions about the value of human life and the acceptable limits of military power. Creating a framework that prioritizes ethical considerations can help guide decision-making and ensure that such weapons are only used in ways that are morally justifiable. Lastly, fostering international cooperation and dialogue is essential. By working together, nations can share knowledge, resources, and strategies to address the threats posed by the Omega Pulse Emitter. Joint efforts in research and development can lead to safer technologies and prevent the escalation of an arms race driven by fear and mistrust. In summary, addressing the dangers of the Omega Pulse Emitter requires a multifaceted approach. Implementing technological safeguards, enforcing international regulations, investing in alternative defenses, raising public awareness, conducting thorough testing, establishing ethical guidelines, and fostering international cooperation are all vital steps in preventing the deployment of this dangerous weapon. By taking these measures, we can work towards a safer future and ensure that our pursuit of advanced technology does not lead to our own destruction. Throughout this video, we've explored the Omega Pulse Emitter, a weapon that was meant to protect humanity, but instead poses a significant threat to our very existence. From its unstable energy core to the catastrophic scenarios it could trigger, it's clear that the Omega Pulse Emitter is more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. The flaws we've discussed show that this weapon is not just ineffective, it's a ticking time bomb. The potential for massive destruction, environmental ruin, and societal collapse makes the Omega Pulse Emitter a weapon that could turn our world upside down. It's a stark reminder of how our pursuit of advanced technology can sometimes lead to unforeseen and disastrous consequences. But it's not too late to take action. By implementing strict safety measures, enforcing international regulations, and investing in alternative technologies, we can prevent the deployment of such dangerous weapons. Public awareness and ethical considerations must guide our decisions to ensure that our advancements do not come at the cost of our safety and humanity. The story of the Omega Pulse Emitter is a cautionary tale. It urges us to think carefully about the technologies we create and the impact they have on our world. We must prioritize reliability, safety, and ethical standards over the mere pursuit of power. As we move forward, let's learn from these mistakes. Let's ensure that our innovations serve to protect and enhance human life, rather than threaten it. The future of humanity depends on the choices we make today. By addressing the dangers of the Omega Pulse Emitter, we can work towards a safer and more secure world for everyone. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, please leave a comment with your thoughts, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis of the technologies that shape our future. Stay informed, stay safe, and remember, the decisions we make today will define the world of tomorrow.